What is the sound of one hand clapping? What is the sound of one fist punching? What is the sound of the IronCast? Good evening, students. I am Charlie, the Professor Esser, and with me, as always, is my skinny rich friend.
It's Mozz.
Hey, Mozz. Welcome back to Season 1, Episode 3 of Iron Fist. Rolling Thunder Cannon Punch. Okay. This is a very interesting episode. There's a lot of things I liked. There's a lot of weird things in it. Two things that really excited me. Two things I really liked, which is we really got our connection to the larger Netflix Marvel universe in this one. And I didn't even see this till I went to the IMDb page. There was a really famous, well, at least according to IMDb, a very famous Marvel Comics villain in this that I totally missed.
Ooh, who's that?
The Ringmaster.
Oh, is he the guy setting up the fights?
No, actually, well, it says Craig Garrity, so I don't think so. Huh, now I'm wondering if that was them. I thought he was, you know what? He might be. That might, yeah, you know what? That actually, yes. Oh, I didn't even realize that he's supposed to be the Ringmaster. Wait, was he in the third episode too? Because I only have him in 2 episodes here.
Yeah, he's in this episode too because he's running the cage fights, which in pugilistic terms, a ring always means a fighting arena to me. So that's where my mind went.
Yeah, because I thought they did a flashback to the circus here in the third episode, and I thought that, and I was thinking, oh wow, is that the Circus of Crime? And then they have this guy here. Let me just look here. They don't have anyone else to be. Oh, it is a full cast. Let me see that. The waiter, fight plan. There's the bouncer. Nope. So I guess that's who they meant. So apparently that's supposed to be the Ringmaster.
What's the story with the Ringmaster? Who is he?
The Ringmaster is a hypnotist. And he ran the Circus of Crime. And what he would do is he would entrance everybody with the circus, and then when they were all subdued, he would pick everyone's pockets, and that's how they made financial sense in running a circus. It was a very elaborate scheme for what had to be a relatively small take. But he was a super powerful hypnotist, actually, and they, much like the Purple Man, he's one of these characters who is kind of a joke villain, but then someone realized how incredibly powerful he was. So it is interesting to see that there. Just a couple quick points here. This episode was, for our writers, we got Scott Buck, who is listed as the created by. Quentin Peebles and Dwayne Worrell wrote it. Dwayne Worrell is doing our staff writing this thing, and I think Tom Skankland was our director. So this is interesting. Because we're opening up in this episode with Danny. Oh, we do get the answer to the question from last episode, Mozz. Does Danny smell?
Yes, we did.
And apparently, yes, he does. He does not smell that good, apparently.
Right.
Maybe it's a manly musk, but it is a musky scent to be sure. Because essentially what we have here is we have a nice scene where I'm trying to remember if he goes to the graves first or the restaurant first. I think he goes to the graves. No, he goes to the restaurant first, I think. Because he, so I believe he showers there before going to the restaurant, because I think he does dress nice by the time he gets there. And he gets the initial offer.
Right.
Oh no wait. Oh goodness.
I mean, the episode begins with Ward's thugs breaking into the dojo.
Yes,
and
that's
Danny
right.
hiding like Batman on the ceiling there.
Wait, is that where it opens, or does it open with him getting punched out of the window?
That's the third.
That's the third episode? Okay, yes. Okay, you know what? You're right. You are right. That is how it opens. And this is one of these things that kind of, it's a weird question for me in this. When this is where we do get into the question of the fighting, when Colleen Wing is defending herself against these guys, I kind of wonder if we're kind of getting a, maybe what we kind of call a power ebb, or a power ebb, I think is what we're going to call it. Whereas basically people are only as powerful as the fight they're in. Right. So it kind of seems like she's almost struggling here, and then later we just, and then in her first fight, again, it's like, it's not quite where she should be, and then when she gets to her last fight, she is just, dominating.
Right.
But it is weird to me, the fact that in our first fight here we see basically everyone coming on her, and it did feel to me like she wasn't all out. And maybe there's ways you can headcanon that by saying she didn't trust herself to release the full Daughter of the Dragon yet. But I felt that fight went a little too. It was a little too fair, I guess I'd say, for what we expect from Colleen Wing. What did you think, Mozz?
I think there is a lot of inconsistency with how she fights. Sometimes it's better, and then sometimes she's there with the kung fu wooden figure that they fight, and she's throwing kicks that she seems completely off balance by, and then all of a sudden she's in the cage and she's doing really well. And I wonder if some bit of that is by design to show that she's getting touch with her inner fire, or whatever you want to call it, and getting better, and she's really enjoying that, or maybe it's just bad direction. I don't know.
Yeah, well, that is, I do think that maybe the direction and the editing on this show is one of its weakest points.
Yeah.
Although I would have to say that this is really the episode, this and definitely the next one. I mean, this was the first time where I really wanted to binge it. And after I got past the fourth episode, I was like, oh yeah, bring on the fifth. I really am getting into the show now. After what I have to say I felt was a very shaky start from the first two episodes. But we are definitely getting better in that. So, Colleen Wing does defeat the guards pretty much single-handedly.
Right.
And then, and they're asking, where's Dan? We're looking for Danny Rand. He's dangerous. He just escaped from a mental hospital. She's like, I don't want anything to do with him. I have no idea where he is. They leave, and of course, then he drops down from the ceiling. Which was good. And then we do get the interchange with them about the rent that he will pay her when he gets when he has the money.
Right.
And of course, she tells him that he has to shower and not here. Which was nice. So we do get that answer that yes, Danny has in fact been stinky.
Yeah. And then his response to it, I just haven't had time for it yet. I was like, all right, Danny, what are you doing? Like, what is occupying your time, really?
Yeah, he's trying to reclaim his fortune.
We also get right after that is Harold in his hyperbaric chamber, or whatever it is that he's sleeping in. That was pretty cool.
That was very cool. And you almost think, is he actually dead? You know what I thought was interesting about that is it kind of reminded me of the Daredevil movie with Ben Affleck, and they had Daredevil sleeping in the sensory deprivation chamber. Although there was also a very Snow Whitey quality to the whole thing, just the man in the glass coffin. So,
right.
Yeah, it was.
What's funny is in mixed martial arts, a lot of fighters make the hyperbaric chamber or hypobaric chamber. I think they're two different ones and do two different things, but it's supposed to speed your recovery. Yes. So that was an interesting touch they put there.
Yeah, well, a hypo would be without oxygen. A hyper would be basically an oxygen test.
Yeah, overloading with oxygen.
Yeah, filling with oxygen or
which one does what, but
yeah. Well, I would imagine you need oxygen for a lot of things, but just a second. Could you boys be quiet, please? Boys, be quiet. Quiet now. If I have to stop again, I'm going to be very mad at you. Anyway, yeah. Sorry.
Hello?
Yeah, no, I couldn't get my mute off. Okay. Uh-oh. Yes.
And the other interesting part in that scene was seeing Harold deliver a nice little liver shot to Ward just to get him back in line. I thought that was very interesting.
Yeah, well, it's very interesting, Ward's character. Because you so see him as kind of the incompetent.
Right.
He is so much the Regent Prince who really, he wants to be the bad guy. He wants to be the villain. And he just doesn't understand. And that, I think, is one of the strongest aspects of this episode, is we really see Joy be our supervillain.
Mm-hmm.
And that, I thought, was just fantastic. But, what's very interesting in this, and this is what I kind of get as our arc here, is that Joy is the supervillain, but only because that is who she's been told to be. Ward wants to be the supervillain, but Ward has actually always been protected from getting his hands dirty. So it's an interesting thing, like the one who is the most sociopathic is not the one that's been tasked with doing the evil deeds.
Right. He's just not that smart.
No, he's not. I mean, that's the thing. But like I said, from the very first episode, we went and we saw that, we saw Joy's MBA from Columbia. We did not see Ward's.
Right.
Right.
And it seems like, for a smart bad guy, such an easy play to know enough about Raj Patel to know that the one thing that he needs, that he would be moved to change his decision on, would be family, and that his nephew needs a kidney. And she seemed to do it so nonchalantly. Like it was, of course that's the play.
And not for nothing, because I think we get the full reveal in, actually, is it this episode or the next episode?
Of what?
Not only was he willing, not only did you found out why he was holding out, who he was in business with at the pier, which is why he didn't want to sell the pier. Yeah. So, just one second. Just get your ass away from me now. No. Go in Mama's room now. Anyway. Yeah, sorry. Kids.
No worries.
Yeah. Anyway, so not only, are they, not only is he betraying, not only, they had to break him. Now, of course, that's what's interesting here is, and also with what, the Elder Meacham is doing here, which is that he is keeping key information from everyone,
Right.
Ward doesn't know how to run the business the way Joy does, but at the same time, Joy doesn't know what they're working towards.
Right. Now, why do you think the reason is that he's been allowed to see Ward but not Joy?
Well, we get that next we get that next issue.
Okay.
We get what he's under, I believe.
Right. Okay.
Yeah, because so this episode, and this is the problem when we do the two episodes back to back, is they do actually move very nicely one to the other.
Right.
And keeping them separated is not the easiest thing.
Yeah. So from there, I think what I really thought was really interesting also was that when she sits down with Danny and tells her that she was only 13 when Harold, quote unquote, died.
Yes.
That's amazing that's how long this has been going on.
Well, we know that. Yeah, so she is 29 now.
Yeah.
And because she was in the Himalayas for 16 years. Although, hey, for what it's worth, isn't it nice to actually have this fact that, yes, in order to be the master, it has to be, 16 years of intensive training from when you are young, Yeah, and I'm guessing that, Danny Rand was about 13 then, too. Yeah. So he's probably like 29 now. And, of course, Ward is a little bit older. Ward is probably in his early 30s, because he was probably like about 4 years older, because he had about that, senior in high school treatment of Danny going on. And, that's what we're getting.
The other thing I thought was really funny was when they start talking about Harold, Danny tells her, I thought I saw him when I was institutionalized. And he just thinks he was a ghost or a figment of his imagination, which was pretty funny.
Yeah, well, and I thought it was very weird when he says, I thought he was a hungry ghost. He's a ghost that had been neglected by his family.
Yeah.
Which is, I for what it's worth, is kind of very insulting to say to Joy there. Shows a lack of social graces. That.
Yeah, and
I think he's, I thought he was a hungry ghost because I thought you just don't care about your dead father, But anyway, we do get to, and that interaction comes when we have Danny has gone to the old house and he's waiting for Joy. And of course before this, and this was what gets Ward the liver punch, was that, Wendell is trying to explain to Ward that, Danny may be important. Maybe we shouldn't be fighting. And, and of course this is one of these classic situations where the supervillain essentially causes his own downfall. Because it's not like Danny really wanted to run Rand Enterprises.
Right.
He wanted to come back home and,
and have a family.
Yeah. And it's like, if they had said, okay, you'll be the 51%, but, we've been running it for a while, so why don't we just keep on running it? You would say, okay. I just want to take a shower and come home and be the Iron Fist,
Yeah.
He probably was not that interested in doing that, although we may see later that actually he was told you must go back and, release, take over Rand because this and that and the other to prevent the Hand from taking over. Because we have had the Hand call out, and we do find out that is what Ward... We find out that basically Wendell is back from the dead and beholden to the Hand.
Right.
And we do see that this is the Hand in here because, of course, we get... the return of yes.
I don't know if we get to that revelation just yet, though. I think that's in the next episode. I'm trying to remember here because in this, that's right. That is the next step. No. Madame Gao's in this one. Is she?
She is because Madame Gao comes to Wendell to say, "Why did you leave?"
Right, to reprimand him.
Yes,
right.
And that's important because, of course, that's our first tie into the larger Netflix universe. That is the return of Madame Gao. Well,
and the other one is in this episode is Madame Hogarth.
Yes, and that, of course, is what we get after Danny goes to his parents' grave sites.
Yeah.
And there's a very interesting thing there because he sees his grave and he sees his mother's grave, and they never recovered anyone's bodies, correct?
Nope.
Yeah. So, but then he realizes, wait, who's leaving the flowers here?
Mm.
And he realizes, oh, it must be cared for by some sort of a trust that my parents set up. Who would have done that? Why, of course, as luck would have it, that great little legal intern.
J Money.
J Money, Jerry Hogarth, tracks down Hogarth, who is basically, and actually just prior to what drives him there is after he meets with Joy, they all agree to meet at a restaurant where they basically offer to buy out Danny for $100 million, which is a lot of money, they say, and well, though honestly, he could have picked up a newspaper and realized, well, actually the value of 51% of Rand Enterprises is way more than $100 million. And here's the thing is, he would have taken it, except they told him he had to change his name.
Yeah.
And it's like, why? What are you accomplishing? You bought his stuff. It's like, yeah, Danny Rand came back, and we just bought him out. Granted, they are swindling him, and honestly, then again, you could ask, why are you swindling him? Because really, here's the thing. They only actually need to buy 1% of his shares.
Right.
You think about it, they just need 1%, and then he's now only, or actually they need 2%. So they each need to buy 1% of his shares, pay him $100 million for 2%. Now they have the 51% stake, and well, not probably there's more than that because I'm sure. But anyway, they just need to get the controlling stake away from him, and that would have been fair. They could have paid him a decent market value for his shares. He'd have been happy. They'd have been happy. He could be Danny Rand returned from the dead and Playboy millionaire. But no, they had to just be a jerk about it.
Yeah.
Anyway, but
so Hogarth sends him on a chase for documents to prove that he exists, and so he goes to the hospital records room, and somehow the goon is there already, and somehow recognizes Danny by voice or something. Without even turning around, assumes that that's Danny and he needs to attack him. Now, this is the part that really bothered me. He's some great kung fu master with, a sixth sense almost, and he doesn't see this guy coming. It really, really bothered me. The guy takes his time, puts on his brass knuckles, and they sort of allude to this scene earlier in the fight scene with Colleen in the dojo, where she throws a surprise punch and he's completely out of the way. Mm-hmm. And I thought they were sort of alluding to his sense of awareness of his surroundings, especially in a dangerous situation, Yes. And the guy completely cold cocks him. That really bothered me.
But see, I can get that because you have to remember that Danny has to be prepared. He has to have his chi focused. It's sort of like how David Banner keeps on getting knocked out in the Incredible Hulk series. Because they catch him off guard.
But that's a superhero part of him. But, he's not just a superhero that becomes a kung fu master when, when he flips it on. He's been studying for 16 years. He should have these senses attuned to a level that, that's a superpower. It's an iron fist that can break anything. But as far as the other things are that any human can achieve in 16 years, he should.
Well, but the thing is so what here's what I'm going to tell you. And maybe we're going to get him eventually. You're confusing Shang-Chi with Iron Fist. Iron Fist Shang-Chi is the Kung Fu master. He's the master of Kung Fu. And he does not have the Iron Fist, but he is the guy who is that, constantly honed, constantly ready master of Kung Fu. Iron Fist is a master of Kung Fu. But he does not live his life by, he is not the monk. He is the warrior, but he can be taken by surprise. And in this moment, he does not recognize this man is the villain. He does not recognize the situation he's in, and that allows the guy to get the drop on him.
Yeah, and that failure of recognition, and that's what really bothers me.
And the way I would say you can look at it is it's the difference between being a street fighter and being a trained martial artist. If you have been trained in the martial arts in practice, it is it's a somewhat different set of skills and what you expect from an attack than what you're going to have if you have been trained. If you were just a guy who fought. There was a great line from one of my favorite what ifs, which was what if Conan the Barbarian was trapped in the 20th century, where he goes because he's building out his street gang. Because he's a thief, of course, Conan the Barbarian, and he's looking for a cadre of thieves to come with him, and he looks for the biggest guy he can find, who's this, big bodybuilder, and the bodybuilder goes and grabs, Conan up by the neck, and he lifts him up, and he says, you dare to threaten me, and Conan makes this point, he says, and it's this thing because he said, I have the strength of all of Africa. And Conan's like, I've never heard of Africa. I don't know what that is. Because, of course, he's from the Sumerian age and And, he's not from around here. He doesn't know these modern words of places. But he says, and though your strength is great, I think you will find there's a big difference in the strength you get from lifting iron lumps and the strength you get from fighting against death, and he overpowers the guy, and it's like, yay! He is a great hero, and all the street gang goes with him, and he runs the protection racket, and then he gets bored, and he does a big heist. It's a good book. One of the best what ifs I ever read.
That sounds really fun.
Yeah, well, he fights Captain America in it, and basically Captain America and Conan are like, both super soldiers, except that, of course, Captain America got it through drugs, and Conan the Barbarian got it by fighting against death. And so that's what I'll say. It's like, so this guy who's getting the jump on him, he's wired because he's always wired because he's a bodyguard. And that's the thing. And we'll see this again at the end, where there is this quality of it that, there is this quality of it that, sorry, I'm blanking out. There's this quality of it that, Danny isn't prepared to fight all the time. Because even though he was trained to be a warrior, it was organized, ritualized training. So he is a master of these things. He had to learn to focus his chi, and that takes study and practice and hard work. But I don't think they were doing, I don't think that he was having people jump out at him all the time. All of his fights have always been, gym battles, essentially. Nobody jumped him in the back alley of Kunlun, because it's a city of monks, but he did have to fight the best fighters ever, so he is a great fighter when he's ready to fight. But if you jump him, he can be taken down quickly, I
don't know. I just don't buy that from a guy who's been studying that long. It just bothered me, but
and fair enough. But what I'm saying is you can headcanon it.
Yeah.
And that's what that always comes down to, is can you headcanon it?
Right.
Much
and
like the Rolling Thunder cannon punch.
Fair enough.
Yes. So they do get their meeting with, after he rejects their first offer, they get their meeting, and of course the Meachams are all thinking that, they have the upper hand because they've destroyed all the records at this point. Even the broken arm records from the General Hospital. But, of course, Hogarth has one item.
Which we kind of see right before it makes its second appearance in Joy's apartment.
Yeah, well, exactly. That there's a little ashtray in Joy's apartment that little Danny Rand made as a small child.
And she still held on to.
Yes, well, because, Danny was very special to her. And this is, like I said, this is what is fascinating about it, because we do get up into this point, because here's, the things we've gotten from Joy are, she keeps drugged water in her office. She is prepared to take anyone down, use any means necessary, thwarting the what do you call it? To bribe people to buy a liver to save someone else's life, to close a deal. She will do it. She will do what needs to be done. But at the same time, she has this shred of humanity left, this sentimentality, which again I think is the fascinating quality of it. And I can see how someone could have some criticism of the character in that, and this idea that maybe Joy does not get to have an actualized self. That she is defined by her tasks and who she reports to. She is defined by the fact that she is the hatchet woman of the company. And she's defined by the person who has sentimental feelings towards Danny Rand. She doesn't have her own self. Now, one can counter-argue that maybe that's kind of the point about the character, is that she is a character without self, that both of the Meacham children are beings without real self, which is why each has a half of the duties, because each one is a half person, because Wendell never raised them to be whole people. He raised them to be broken people so that he could control them.
That's interesting. Yeah. See, here's how I see Joy's character versus Ward. I think she is really the one that he's grooming, and he is just the expendable pawn. Because I think in order to have a good villain, you have to have some semblance of a battle within the villain themselves of what is right and what is wrong. And fighting that battle and winning on the dark side is what makes a bad guy really interesting. And I think that's what we're getting with her, that there is an honest struggle in her mind about what the right thing to do is. And then when she flips, it's going to be that much more satisfying.
Yes. But does she flip to good or evil? That's the question.
Well, I'm hoping she flips to the evil side, because she'd be a great villain.
Yeah, she would be. I think that she would be. She would be a Lex Luthor level villain for us to walk away with here. And and for what it's worth, you even have with Joy and Ward even being the guy, what if we just ran away? What if we just walked away from everything? What if we just left this? Yeah. And yes.
Oh, I just was screaming weak.
Yeah. Well, I don't know, man. Maybe that would be. Well, no, actually, that's the strongest thing he could do, is just walk away. The strongest thing he could ever do would be to just say, you know what, Dad, you live in this penthouse, and as far as the world's concerned, you're dead. Me and Joy were liquidating the stocks, and we're going on our way. You can die here again when you're ready.
I don't think that's what he was implying, because the way she put it, she goes, if we leave, we get nothing. So that's the way he keeps them in the business. I think what he was suggesting is that he was just done with it all, tired of taking, crap from his father, and said, I just want everybody has started over with less.
Yeah.
So he was implying we leave it all and go be poor and start over again to get out from under this company. And she doesn't know why he's, having those feelings, but that's, I think, what he was suggesting.
Yeah, fair enough. That is a very solid reading of that scene. Okay. So what happens next is
the cage fight.
I'm sorry?
Right? The cage fight.
Oh, that's the cage fight? Oh, okay. Yeah, yes.
This is where we get into, because the kid had shown her the cage fight. Now I'm wondering, at first I was wondering why she went down there, and I thought maybe she went down there to catch her student and to dissuade him from doing what he was about to do, but she decides to get up in the cage.
Yes, well, because You know what? She
It woke something in her.
Yeah, well, because, she is the daughter of the dragon, and the dragon is within her. And so she, she saw the battle, and, it's interesting, she is always referring to the Bushido Code, which I believe is the code of the samurai.
Right.
If I'm not mistaken. Funny story about the Bushido Code, it was actually something, it's sort of like the code of chivalry. Like, it was created for knights, not by knights. That it was this thing that, sort of the nobles of the land said, here is what you, roaming warlords, this is how you should be. This is the code you should live by. And they often did not. So, samurai often did not, because, samurai basically held their little fiefs. They were warlords, like most knights. They had their serfs, and they had their lands, and some were noble and some were much less so. And the code was something actually created by the Emperor of Japan and his folks to sort of tell the samurai, this is how you're supposed to live. Now, of course, that's not how it comes down to us through the kung fu flicks that informed these shows. And, much like DC's Legends of Tomorrow, sometimes when you're in a comic book universe, you have to understand that the fictional history is the real history.
Right. And I think it's important to point out that Bushido is part of Japanese culture and Kung Fu is decidedly Chinese.
Yes.
So there is a little bit of, again, inconsistency with, as far as the fighting is concerned.
Yeah, well, no, it's just that they're well, again, because of course informed by the movies, not reality. But she actually makes a comment to that she knows Chinese, but she is Japanese. That she
does. She does do that,
yeah,
right?
Yeah, because she says, I haven't spoken Mandarin in years, I can do it, but it's not really the language I normally speak. I speak mostly Japanese, and I think there was some other Chinese dialect she did. I think her father is Japanese, although, actually, yeah. Anyway, I don't know if we're actually going to get Professor Wing in this at all, but he was basically the scholar of Japanese culture.
Right.
Yes.
The other thing, I think the important thing that I wanted to bring up that really bothered me was she throws an armbar on the dude that she's fighting in the cage, and it is absolutely horrible. Like, who informed them on their choices as it comes to fighting? Because she puts the armbar, and the way the armbar works is by leveraging your elbow and hyperextending it. But the way she had the armbar on, the elbow was never in danger because his forearm was over her crotch, not her elbow. So she wasn't actually able to apply any pressure to the hold as you would want to, and that really bugged me. So that's just the thing I wanted to bring up.
Yeah, see, I thought we were going to go on another level on that, which actually I think was intentional, and maybe this is part of the whole thing with the fighting styles in this. When her and Danny are sparring, Danny makes the point that you're fighting tiger style. And, that that is a power stance. You need to master your inner strength. That the inner strength is the way you do it. Basically saying you're doing all this, you're doing all these hard style power moves, and not for nothing, you don't have the power behind you. You need to be doing these more the smaller, almost I'm forgetting the word for I'm forgetting that style where basically jujitsu moves. You got to be pulling everything in, doing that soft style punches, which again is what that the arm bar is going to be there. You want to push. You want to be putting people into holds, locks, and pulls.
I thought he was talking more about your internal sort of power, your will. And she's throwing it out there with, like, she's trying to be strong and forceful and aggressive, but that's not where your power. The power comes from the power of your intention. How intent are you in throwing that one strike, throwing everything you have into that one? Yeah. And you got to collect yourself in order to be able to do that. You can't be as moved emotionally when you're striking. You got to be focused.
I
think that's what he was alluding to.
Well, I think it can have multiple views on it, but I think the basic point is that she, in the first fight, and in her sparring with Danny, she's being too. She's trying to show off too much, and in showing off too much, she's putting herself at a disadvantage. And I think that's what we're supposed to take away from that. That's my take on it. I'm not sure if that's what everyone's take is going to be on it, but that's what I would walk away from it with. Okay. And
the other thing that I thought was really, really cool was when she walks out of the ring, having won, she's got this great smile on her face, like she found something inside herself that she's excited about. But within seconds, it turns into self-hatred almost. That's what it looked like on her face.
Yes. And
wouldn't you say?
Oh, yeah. And we'll get to that when we get to the next episode. Final point on this episode is Danny follows Ward back to the penthouse. He sees Ward break in. He sees Ward use the hand thing to get in. He basically climbs up the building, and then he breaks in.
Someone pushes him out.
Yeah, gets kicked out the window. And again, a guy who's not prepared for these things. And I think part of that is also meant to be the growth of the character. So I think that might be also something you're supposed to take, so that by the end of this, he is that person who is ready for battle constantly. But up until now, he's never. I mean, he probably has had battles to the death, or battles at least towards what passes for death in Kunlun. But he's never really had a fight.
Well, doesn't he say he was on like a circuit of fighting for money on his way from Kunlun?
Yeah. He does say that, and I think he gets to that in the next episode. But again, with that, again, it's of course quality of fighters. You know, because again, like you said, this is a guy who's been studying kung fu for 16 years. He's going into the ring knowing that we're about to fight. So a cage match is no different than any other gym battle. You know, you go in there and you know the battle is going to begin. So now we get ready. You know, when you're doing something else and someone sucker punches you, that's when, you know, you can be felled easily, because that's why it's called a sucker punch, because they're not playing by the rules. Okay, let's wrap this up because we're going to get into that next episode too much. So, Mozz, final thoughts on this episode, Rolling Thunder Cannon Punch.
I thought it was a really good episode. I think, aside from the inconsistencies in the fighting, I'm willing to overlook that. Certain parts will bother me, but what I'm invested more than anything is the narrative thread of the story. It's really interesting how someone reacts when they come back and all their life isn't there anymore, and how is he going to reconcile that? I think that's what's keeping me pulled into the show.
Very good. And I very much agree. Like I said, this was really the episode that kind of pulled me in. The next episode is also, I think, a very great, powerful one. And hopefully they keep on getting better from here. You know? We will prove those critics wrong, who only watched 6 episodes. Okay, Mozz, if people want to reach out to you, how can they touch you?
Oh, they can find me on Facebook at Mozz Manzor, or email me at mozzmanzor@gmail.com. That's MOZZMANZOOR.
And, of course, you can always write to me in that old-fashioned email way at superconnectivityblog@gmail.com. That's superconnectivityblog, all one word, @gmail.com. You may want to break the words up so that you get the spell check on connectivity. There's 2 N's. And, of course, if you'd like to follow me on Twitter when I do tweet things, which I do, it's at Charlie Esser. That's CharlieEsser. Thank you for joining us, students. Remember, always, the path to Kunlun is a road leading forever into the horizon, not a path to a door.